If someone told you that the person who seems least capable of love might actually be loving you the hardest right now, would you believe them? Probably not. Because everything you have been taught about love tells you that love is loud, love is expressive. Love shows up with grand gestures and constant reassurance and texts back within seconds. But what if that entire framework is wrong? What if the quietest love is actually the most profound one you will ever receive in your life? Stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is going to completely flip the way you see that person in your life who seems emotionally distant, that person who you have been frustrated with, that person who pulls away when you get too close, that person who you are not sure actually cares about you at all. Because here is the thing, if an avoidant is doing certain specific things for you, things that seem small on the surface, things that most people would completely overlook, you are holding something extraordinarily rare in your hands right now. And if you let it go without understanding what it means, you might regret it for a very long time. So before you walk away, before you give up, before you decide that this person is just too closed off, too damaged, too emotionally unavailable for you, watch this until the very end. Because the truth about avoidant love is something that almost nobody talks about, honestly. Drop the word open in the comments right now if you have ever felt confused by someone who pulls away just when things start getting good between you. And subscribe, because we go deep on real relationship psychology here every single week. Let me start by explaining something fundamental, something that is going to be the foundation of everything else I'm going to tell you today. Avoidant people are not broken. They are not heartless. They are not incapable of love. They are people who, at some point in their lives, learned a very specific survival lesson. And that lesson was this: the people who are supposed to be closest to you are also the most likely to hurt you. So the safest thing to do is to keep a little distance, always, even from the people you love the most. Think about that for a second. Imagine learning that lesson as a child. Imagine being in an environment where reaching out for connection, reaching out for comfort, reaching out for love either got you rejected or overwhelmed or made to feel like a burden. What would you do? You would learn to self-soothe. You would learn to not need. You would learn to appear strong and independent and fine all the time, even when you are falling apart inside. And then you would carry that pattern into every single adult relationship you ever have. That is the avoidant. That is the person sitting across from you who seems so frustratingly hard to reach. They are not cold by nature. They are protective by training. There is a massive difference between those two things, and understanding that difference is what is going to change everything for you today. Now, here is where it gets really interesting, because avoidants, despite their reputation, despite the way they are often talked about in dating advice circles as these impossible, emotionally unavailable nightmares, avoidants are actually capable of incredibly deep love. The problem is that their love does not look like what you expect love to look like. It does not come in the packaging you have been conditioned to recognize, so you miss it, you look right past it, you call it inconsistency, you call it hot and cold, you call it confusing. When actually, if you knew how to read the language, you would realize that what you are witnessing is someone fighting against their most deeply wired instincts to stay connected to you. And that is not nothing, that is actually everything. So let me walk you through the specific signs, the specific behaviors, the things an avoidant does when they are genuinely deeply invested in you, not performing, not just being polite, not just keeping you around as an option, but truly genuinely choosing you in the way that an avoidant chooses someone. The first thing is that they keep showing up even when it would be easier to disappear. This is the big one. This is the one that people miss the most, because they are so focused on the moments when the avoidant pulls back that they completely overlook the fact that the avoidant keeps coming back. Avoidants have a very well-developed skill set when it comes to exiting situations. They know how to fade. They know how to create distance. They know how to make themselves less available. They have done it their whole lives. So when they do not do that with you, when they pull back but then they return, when they go quiet but then they reach out, when they create space but then they close it again, that is not inconsistency. That is them fighting their own programming to stay connected to you. The avoidant who is not invested in you does not keep showing up. They disappear completely, and they feel relieved when they do. So if your avoidant keeps coming back even after conflict, even after distance, even after the moments where it would have been so easy for them to just vanish, pay attention to that. That return is not nothing. That return is them telling you in the only language they currently know how to speak that they are not ready to let this go. The second thing is that they remember the small details about you. Avoidants tend to be highly observant people. They watch, they listen, they take note, but they do not share what they observe very easily or very often. So when they reveal that they have been paying close attention to you, when they remember something you said 3 weeks ago that you thought no one was listening to, when they notice that you seem a little off today, even when you have not said a word about it, when they recall the small specific things that matter to you, that is intimacy, that is connection. That is someone who has let you into their mental and emotional landscape more than they let most people in. Because for an avoidant, paying attention to someone else is vulnerable. It means you matter to them. And admitting that someone matters is one of the scariest things an avoidant can do. So when they show you through actions that they have been watching, that they have been listening, that they have been carrying pieces of you around with them, that is profound. Do not take it for granted. The third thing is that they show up physically and practically when you need them. Words are hard for avoidance. Emotional expression is hard. Vulnerability is terrifying. But a lot of avoidants are incredibly action-oriented. They show love through doing, through fixing, through being there in a practical, tangible, physical way. So if your avoidant drives across town at 10 at night because your car broke down, if they help you move even though they hate that kind of thing, if they show up at your door when you are sick with soup and medicine and a terrible excuse about just happening to be in the neighborhood, that is love. That is an avoidant saying with their body and their actions what they cannot yet say with their words. And here is the thing you need to understand about this. For an avoidant, showing up like that requires overriding a very powerful internal resistance. Because showing up means being close. Being close means being vulnerable. Being vulnerable means risking pain. So every time they push through that resistance and show up for you anyway, they are doing something genuinely courageous. They are loving you in the way that costs them the most. The fourth thing is that they let their guard down in small ways only with you. Avoidants are usually very consistent across different social contexts, meaning they keep the same walls up with most people. They have the same level of guardedness with their friends as they do with their family, as they do with their co-workers. Everyone gets the same contained, composed, emotionally managed version of them. But if they are different with you, if they laugh differently with you, if they are sillier or softer or more honest or more raw with you than they are with anyone else, if they let you see the cracks in the armor even occasionally, that is extraordinarily significant. Because that means you have gotten somewhere that very few people ever get to with them. You are not just another person in their life. You are a rare safe space. And for an avoidant, finding a safe space is like finding water in a desert. The fifth thing is that they introduce you to the things that matter most to them. Not necessarily their friends and family right away, although that is significant too, but specifically the things, the music they love, the movies that actually mean something to them, the books they go back to, the places that feel like home, the hobbies that they lose themselves in when the world gets too loud. When an avoidant starts sharing those things with you, they are sharing themselves. They are giving you a map to who they actually are underneath all the self-protection. And that is an incredibly vulnerable thing for them to do, because those things are sacred. Those things are private. Those things are the parts of themselves they do not normally let people see. If they are letting you see those parts, they are telling you something. They are saying that you are someone they want to truly know them, not just the surface version, the real version. And for an avoidant, that desire, the desire to be truly known by another person, is one they usually spend most of their lives suppressing because it feels too dangerous. So when it breaks through with you, when they cannot help but share themselves with you, honor that. Take it seriously. The sixth thing is that they tolerate more emotional expression from you than they normally would. One of the most common things you hear in relationships with avoidance is this complaint. Every time I try to have an emotional conversation, they shut down. Every time I express a need, they pull back. Every time I get vulnerable, they get cold. And yes, that happens. That is real. That is a genuine challenge in these relationships. But here is the nuance that nobody talks about. With the person they are truly invested in, avoidants push through that shutdown response more than they do with anyone else. They do not love it. It does not feel natural or comfortable, but they try. They sit with the discomfort a little longer. They listen even when every instinct is telling them to create distance. They stay in the conversation even when they are overwhelmed. So if you notice that your avoidant handles your emotional needs better than you might expect given their general patterns, if they push through their discomfort to be there for you even imperfectly, even clumsily, even in ways that are not quite what you need. But you can see the effort. That effort is everything. That effort is love showing up in work clothes. It is not glamorous. It is not perfect, but it is real and it is hard for them and they are doing it for you. The seventh thing is that they get jealous, even though they would never admit it. Avoidants carry this very particular contradiction. On one hand, their whole identity and self-protective system is built around not needing anyone, not being attached, being able to walk away, being fine on their own. On the other hand, when they are genuinely attached to someone, that attachment does not feel neutral to them. It feels threatening, because attachment means someone has the power to hurt them. So when they see you giving attention to someone else, when you mention an ex, when you get a little flirtatious with someone at a party, when you pull back from them for once instead of the other way around, watch what happens. The avoidant who is not invested is fine. They feel nothing or close to nothing. The avoidant who is invested shows it, maybe not openly, maybe not loudly, but you will see it in a slight stiffening, a little extra distance, a comment that sounds casual but is not quite, a sudden need to be busy. They will not say I am jealous, because saying that would mean admitting they care deeply, and admitting they care deeply is one of the scariest things they can do. But the jealousy is information. It is the attachment showing itself even against the avoidant's best efforts to hide it. The eighth thing is that they try to improve because of you. Not for you, because that distinction matters. Not because you are pressuring them or giving them ultimatums or making them feel guilty, but because they can see themselves through your eyes and they want to be more than what they currently are. Avoidants who are not invested in someone do not change their patterns. They do not need to. They can just exit. But when they are truly invested, when they actually care about the relationship and its future, they try. They read about attachment styles. They go to therapy. They have conversations they would normally shut down. They practice things that do not come naturally. They push themselves to be more vulnerable, even when everything in them is screaming to stay protected. This is incredibly significant because avoidants tend to be change-resistant in relationships. Their whole system is built around staying the same, staying guarded, staying safe. So when they are genuinely trying to evolve, trying to become more emotionally available, trying to meet you better, that is not just effort. That is love manifesting as personal growth. That is them saying that being with you is worth the hardest work they know how to do. Now, I want to pause here and say something really important, because I know some of you watching this are in situations that are genuinely painful. Situations where you are giving and questioning whether it is worth it. Situations where you are waiting and hoping and trying to be patient with someone who seems incapable of meeting you where you are. And I do not want this video to become a reason for you to stay in something that is actually harmful to you. Because there is a critical difference between an avoidant who is struggling to connect but is genuinely trying, and an avoidant who is simply using the label of being emotionally unavailable as an excuse to treat you poorly. One is hard, one is impossible, and you need to know which one you are dealing with. The signs I have been talking about, the showing up, the small details, the physical presence, the guard coming down, the sharing of sacred things, the tolerance for your emotions, the jealousy that shows investment, the genuine effort to grow, those are the signs of someone who is struggling but trying. Someone who wants to do better even if they do not always know how. What you do not want to accept as love is consistent contempt, consistent emotional cruelty, consistent dismissal of your needs as too much or too needy, consistent making you feel like loving you is a burden. That is not avoidance. That is a fundamentally different issue. And no amount of patience or understanding or waiting is going to transform that into what you need. So I want you to be honest with yourself as you watch this. Really honest, not the kind of honest where you are making excuses for someone because you love them. The kind of honest where you are looking at the full picture and asking yourself, what is actually true here? Is this person struggling but genuinely trying to stay connected to you? Or are they simply not there yet in their development in a way that is actively hurting you with no real signs of movement? Both of those can coexist with real feelings. Avoidance can genuinely care about you and still not be ready or able to be what you need right now. And if that is the case, your job is not to wait indefinitely. Your job is to be clear about what you need and to honestly assess whether this person is moving in that direction or standing completely still. Because you deserve someone who is fighting for the relationship, even if that fighting looks quieter and less conventional than you expected. You deserve someone whose love, even if it comes in a different language, is still moving toward you. Now, let me talk about what to do if you recognize your person in these signs, because recognizing is one thing. Knowing how to be in this relationship in a way that actually works is something else entirely. And most people get this part completely wrong. The most common mistake people make with avoidance is trying to force the pace, trying to push for emotional expression before the avoidant is ready, trying to create closeness by pursuing more intensely when the avoidant pulls back, trying to get the grand declaration of love that finally makes you feel secure. Every one of those strategies activates the avoidant's threat response. Every one of those strategies makes them feel more cornered, more overwhelmed, more inclined to create distance. So the more you push, the more they pull. The more you pursue, the faster they retreat. It becomes this terrible cycle where both of you are suffering and neither of you understands why. The antidote to this cycle is something that feels deeply counterintuitive. It is to become more secure within yourself while staying connected to them, not to pull away dramatically as a strategy, not to play games, but to genuinely develop your own sources of fulfillment, your own confidence, your own security, so that you are not entirely dependent on the avoidance emotional output to feel okay about yourself and the relationship. When you are secure within yourself, something shifts in the dynamic. The avoidant no longer feels the pressure of your anxiety. They no longer feel like closeness is a trap where too much of you is going to come flooding in the moment they open a door. They start to experience you as someone safe to come toward. And avoidants move towards safety. They always have. It is what they are looking for even when they are running from it. This does not mean tolerating bad behavior. This does not mean suppressing your needs. This means doing the genuine internal work of becoming a person who feels good in their own life, regardless of the relationship's status on any given day. And paradoxically, that internal security is one of the most powerful things you can offer an avoidant because it gives them the breathing room they need to actually move closer to you. The other thing that matters enormously with avoidance is how you communicate your needs, because the way you communicate matters just as much as what you are communicating. If you communicate your needs from a place of anxiety and desperation and fear of abandonment, the avoidant experiences that as an attack and they defend accordingly. If you communicate your needs from a place of clarity and calm and self-respect, the avoidant experiences that as information and they can actually work with it. So instead of "you never open up to me and it makes me feel like you do not care," try something like "I really value our conversations when you share what is going on for you. It helps me feel connected to you." One is an accusation, one is an invitation. Avoidants respond to invitations. Accusations trigger their entire survival system. And when they do open up, even a little, even clumsily, even in ways that are not quite what you needed, resist the urge to immediately ask for more. Receive what they are giving. Let them feel that it was safe to give it. Let them experience that opening up to you did not lead to an overwhelming demand for more. That safety, that experience of being received without being consumed, is what teaches an avoidant that intimacy is not a threat. It is actually relief. This takes time, real time, and patience that is not just passive waiting, but active and intentional. But when it works, when an avoidant genuinely starts to open up, when they start to let you in, when they start to feel safe enough to be vulnerable with you, what you get is one of the deepest and most loyal forms of love you will ever experience. Because avoidants, once they truly trust someone, are fiercely devoted. They are the partner who will not leave when things get hard, because they chose you deliberately and intentionally after fighting their own resistance to do so. They are the partner who will be your most honest mirror, because they do not tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what they actually think. They are the partner who will show up in the practical, tangible, action-based ways that actually hold a life together. They are the partner whose love, once earned, is not taken back lightly. And maybe most importantly, they are the partner who chose to fight against their deepest instincts because being with you felt worth the fight. That is not nothing. That is extraordinary. That is the kind of love that most people spend their whole lives looking for in the wrong places. So if your person is doing the things I described today, if they keep showing up even when they could disappear, if they remember the small details about you, if they show up physically and practically when it matters, if they let their guard down with you in ways they do not with others, if they share the things that are sacred to them, if they push through their discomfort to be present for your emotional needs, if they show the quiet signs of genuine investment, if they are trying to grow even when it is hard, please do not measure that love against a template it was never going to fit. Measure it against what it actually is. Someone who is scared of intimacy choosing you anyway. Someone who has spent their whole life learning to need no one, needing you. Someone who could disappear choosing to stay. That is worth something. That is worth a great deal. And this is the part I want you to carry with you as you leave this video. Worth something does not mean worth everything at any cost. You also have needs that deserve to be met. You also deserve to feel secure in a relationship. You also deserve progress, not just potential. So hold both truths at once. Honor the love that is being offered while also being honest about whether it is enough, whether it is growing, whether it is moving in the right direction. Because the best relationships with avoidance are not ones where one partner sacrifices their needs indefinitely while the other one slowly comes around. The best relationships with avoidance are ones where both people are doing the work, where the avoidant is genuinely trying to open up and the other partner is genuinely developing security within themselves, where both people are growing individually and together at the same time. That is the relationship worth fighting for. That is the relationship where the quiet love of an avoidant becomes something that will anchor your whole life, where the person who once seemed so hard to reach becomes the most solid presence you have ever known, because they did not love you easily. They loved you deliberately. And deliberate love, chosen love, fought for love is the rarest and most beautiful kind there is. So if you have someone in your life right now who is showing you these signs, even imperfectly, even frustratingly, even in ways that you have been misreading as indifference, take a second look, not through the lens of wishful thinking, through the lens of understanding, through the lens of what love actually looks like when it is coming from someone who is terrified of it. Because sometimes the bravest love is the quietest one, and sometimes the person who says the least is the one who means it the most. And sometimes the one who seems the hardest to hold on to is the one who, once they decide to stay, will be the most steady presence of your entire life. Do not give up on that too quickly, but also do not lose yourself waiting for it. Walk the line. Stay in your own power. Let them come toward you. And if they are already doing the things I talked about today, recognize them for what they are. Recognize what you have, and hold it with both the care and the clarity that it deserves. Because someone fighting their own wiring to love you is not doing something ordinary. They are doing something rare, and rare things deserve to be seen clearly before they are let go.